Hey everybody, Danny here again, talking about my favorite topic, Rocket Club. And today is going to be about guiding the game. So yes, this is about campaign prep and session prep. It is also broadly about running the game of Rocket Club, and to some degree, running games in general. So let's get into it. Guiding the game, the guide's agenda here in the text. I'm going to do the same thing that if you've been watching these other videos, I've been doing the whole way through. I like to engage directly with the text, editorialize here, because I find that to be the most interesting way for us to get into this. I want this to be useful for all of you, provide you with as much clarity as possible. If you have any notes on these videos, hey Danny, make them shorter. Hey, you don't need to read out all this stuff. Hey Danny, please read out more of this stuff. Or I like it when you really do this, or I really like when you do this. Do more of that. I want to know, because I want these videos to be as useful for you as possible, and I can't know that in a vacuum. So get in our Discord, please. Comment here on the video, whatever feels right to you. Let me know, let us know. I'm not at all the only founder who's working on these educational videos. Bastion's doing a ton of them. Eli did the character creation video here. More of our founders may be doing more of these videos in the future as well. We can only make them better with your feedback, with your help. Please collaborate with us. Help us understand what's working, what's not. That spiel done. Let's get into the guide's agenda over here. Explore the strange, wondrous, and the frightening. Play with emotions, introduce dangerous consequences, ask questions, and make space for everyone. Now, this is just good advice for GMing, for lack of a better term, right? Or guiding in the parlance of this game. Yeah, explore the strange, the wondrous, and the frightening. This is a sci-fi story. There's outlandish aliens, fantastic technology, and our heroes are kids. Kids who are out of their depth, facing terrifying challenges. Lean into the danger, lean into the strangeness, not just because the trappings of genre allow for it, but because childhood feels like that, right? Like childhood, the world is weird. Things are new and inherently strange a lot of the time, at the very least through their newness, and also very dangerous and scary. Also, at least in part because of the newness, right? And the unknown nature of so much. Playing with emotions, yeah, there's moods here, there's secret mechanics, there's a lot of emotional stuff baked into the mechanics of the game. Also, your characters are going to be going through a very difficult time in their lives, the kind of time that it's, okay, you break up your life to before this happened and after this happened, right? They're also living through a formative period in their lives that includes typically a lot of volatile emotions, as the game itself says. So play with those emotions, embrace that. That's what this game is built for, if a game can be built for anything. Introducing dangerous consequences. This is a pretty standard, consistent thing for most tabletop games, in my experience. Danger can be defined a lot of different ways. Those who watched the video for session 0 will know about my penguin problem reference. You want to define dangerous very clearly for yourself and for your table to make sure that it is a fun and meaningful danger and not a danger that ruins everybody's good time above table. I'm a big fan of friction in the fiction, but no friction above table. Above table, we are always on the same side, moving in the same direction, big fans of each other, supporting each other. To borrow a term from LARP, playing to lift, and caring for each other's bleed, which, if you're not familiar with the concept of bleed, it is about the emotional spillover of emotions from the game world into the real world, and emotions from the real world into the game world. Some people, especially people with a lot of tools, experience, and relevant skills, may do that, may choose to do that deliberately. I am one of those people myself. But if you don't have those tools, I don't recommend doing it. And even if you do, it's really important that you have clear communication at the table around that. Ask questions. This is just great advice for life, right? But definitely for guiding and for playing this game. This is about co-creation. We're collaborating here. This is a team sport, right? This is immersive, improvisational storytelling through play. So treat it like that. Be curious about what other people think, about what other people want. Set them up to have opportunities to contribute more and succeed. You'll create virtuous circles or cycles of gameplay that will have exponentially ever expanding layers of meaning and joy, even when you're dealing with difficult stuff, because everyone at the table will get a lot out of having the opportunity to be attended to. Some may not want to add as much as others, and that's entirely valid. Everyone should have the option. Everyone should be attended to. And that leads us to the last one of making space for everyone. Making sure everybody can have the voice they want to have in the game. This isn't about pressuring people to answer questions or contribute things when they don't seem to want to do that. It is about giving people the opportunity to shine. And not just the people who, like myself, are very comfortable chatting a lot. People who find their comfort in different ways, who are more thoughtful in their approach without expressing those thoughts out loud quite as much. Those people deserve as much attention as the ones who are a little bit louder. So make room for that. There are going to be places where you can lead and places where you can follow in this game. The guide's job is to help other players navigate the rules of the game. It isn't to determine the outcome of the game in any unilateral fashion. Collaborate with the dice, collaborate with each other. And the mechanics, which if you go back and you watch the video that I put together here on the rules of the game, you'll see are built to very much share the burden across the table and share the opportunity across the table of getting to define the realities of this world between the guide and players. There's a lot of situations, including in the core game loop, where the guide follows the lead of the players. That happens with the side effects. That happens with the moves. So it's really interestingly balanced, is what I'm trying to say when it comes to that. Now, getting into the stages of the game, using the parlance of rocketry here. Rocket Club, you've got shadowy alien beings moving about in the dark, lurking, plotting, simply wreaking havoc, perhaps. And heroes who are often out of their depth, forced to figure out how to act against enigmatic foes. The stories of that are structured in stages, like a multi-stage rocket launch. The content of each stage allows the story to develop until a predetermined plot point is reached, at which point the next stage begins. The sequence of stages ultimately carries the plot and characters through to their destination. The structure is meant to help guide the action, establish the pace of storytelling, and keep things interesting. Stages are designed to cover either a one-shot game or a single session within a longer campaign. So this is typically the structure of a given session that is recommended by the game. I recommend use these tools in whatever ways fit you, your table, and your style best. I think they're a really great way to conceptualize things. And then we all know what happens when plans meet reality, or when plans meet players, right? You plan a lot, in my experience and my view, to be ready to abandon those plans or alter them significantly in the moment. There are established realities about this world that will continue to be real. How your player characters engage with them should change them. So this is not running against that. This is giving you the scaffolding to allow you to more easily do that. Now, first stage, second stage, any subsequent numbered stages, use a tracking tool called targets. These help the keep the story focused and drive the action forward. So this is how you make one, right? You write down an objective that the player characters are pushed toward accomplishing. This is the target. Let's say they're going into a lab and they need to find some secret information. Okay, you draw 3 to 6 boxes next to the target, representing time remaining. More boxes generally imply a larger scope of the action and an objective that will take more time to accomplish. Fewer boxes either implies a simpler objective that can be accomplished quickly or an intense time pressure that forces the player characters to act as quickly as possible. It's really important to keep which of those contexts that you intend in mind. So higher stakes, lower stakes. Easy way to think of it. Finally, you got to write down a worst case scenario that's going to occur if the player characters do not achieve the target before the time remaining runs out. So if all the boxes get ticked, anytime that there's a failure, you tick a box. Anytime the choice is made to pursue something else instead of this main goal, you can tick a box. And anytime that you feel, as a guide within reason, right, that significant time passes, you can tick a box. When they're filled before the target is achieved, you narrate how the worst case scenario occurs. This then sets up the next stage of the story in which a new target is introduced. Now, if you don't hit worst case scenario and they succeed, you move on to the following target. Now, there can be course correction in this. The plot of the game might not go the way you expect, as I mentioned. At any point, you might decide to course correct. Have the players chosen to pursue a different goal than the one you expected, you can let the time remaining on the target run out and use the worst case scenario to demand their attention. But, crucially, you can also shift your own expectations, replacing the target you'd written down with a new one and evaluating whether your notes for subsequent stages still fit. Let your prep be something that supports rather than restricts your storytelling. So all the stuff that I said before, right here in the book too. The stages. You have pre-launch, ignition, first stage, second stage, potentially any subsequent stages if you feel the need to include any subsequent stages, and descent. Now, depending on the intended duration of your campaign, if you're playing a campaign and not a one-shot, I would recommend you do this, you consider doing this, if it's useful for you, for each session, but also looking at the macro arc of the campaign and seeing how some lessons from this may map onto it. There's some discussion of campaign prep a little bit later. I'll get to that when I get to that. But think about how these can function as a bit of a nesting doll to each other. Not in a one-to-one way, as you're about to see, but see what you can take from it that could be useful structurally. Pre-launch, if it's your first session, it's an opportunity to introduce player characters, see them interact in low-stakes situations before they get swept up in presumably epic struggle. But if it's later, a later session, ongoing campaign, you can recap the last session, you can answer lingering questions, you could learn how the player characters want to move forward. It's an opportunity for free-form conversations and interactions with non-player characters or one another. So typically doesn't need to include roles. I will say if your players do something that you feel requires a role, go for it, right? Then you hit ignition. Now, this, for those of you who might be familiar with storytelling structures like 3-act structures, 5-act structures, screenwriting, playwriting, that sort of thing, this is an inciting incident, ignition here, right? This moment of action sets the story in motion. The inciting incident clearly establishes a goal that must be accomplished, a new threat that has emerged, or a plot that demands response. Player characters are thrust into a story arc, and the player should feel like there's something their characters can leap into doing right away, right? So you want this to be commanding. You want this to be active. You want this to be dramatic and engaging and lean into what you have already, by this point, hopefully learned that your players are interested in exploring in this world. That is part of why the collaborative co-creation process that is described in another video that I recommend you check out if you're interested in that, is so important. Then you hit the first stage. Perfect opportunity for targets that focus on investigation, reconnaissance, gathering resources, enlisting allies, drawing up blueprints, or rallying the team. So you're getting the band together. You're finding out the info that you need to find out so that everything can work the way that you hope it will. You put however many boxes feel right here. Maybe you want to do a fewer box construction here, like pick 2 or 3 boxes instead of 4 or 5. Then you get to the second stage when that's resolved one way or another, with a worst case scenario or success, right? Or presumably something else if something else becomes necessary when planning meets actual play. Second stage is built for escalation. Maybe player characters have a close encounter with alien combatants, or they're forced to confront middle school drama in an already tense situation. You got to introduce a target here that escalates toward action, danger, rockets, spending time in close quarters with crushes or rivals, or big bursts of emotion. We're looking for something that feels a bit more climactic here, especially if there are not subsequent stages. If there are subsequent stages after this one, which I recommend, by the way, you put maybe a little bit more boxes here, and a little bit more time with it, give a lot of room for people to be able to really get a lot out of this. You then transition either into subsequent stages or descent. If there are subsequent stages, you can add a third one, maybe even a fourth one, to get exactly where you want to go. They're going to function the same way as what we just described. You're typically going to want to have a build. You may not even want it to just be a build up, 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 because that can feel a little samey, right? So you might want to go up, down, up, down. You might want to have more intimate moments, for lack of a better term, chances for rest and care, chances to have secret confessions, right? That sort of thing is important. You want to have variation. You don't want it to all exist in one tone, typically. You're going to want to give yourself an opportunity for there to be a mix of higher and lower stakes things, and a mix of engagement with the alien elements of the story and the middle school elements of the story, the highly emotional elements of both, right? Whenever the stages are done, you land at descent. You leave some time to wrap things up. This is your denouement. This is your coda, right? Instead of planning out a descent ahead of time, you improvise based on what happened during the session and the decisions the players made. If this is a one-shot, the descent is your chance to completely tie up loose ends, explore the aftermath of the action, maybe get a glimpse of the future to see where the characters end up, right, as an epilogue. In an ongoing campaign, you can either bring this chapter of the story to a definitive close or end on a cliffhanger moment of danger, right? Now, if you're going to play it as a short-term game, Rocket Club can be played as a one-shot, meaning you play the whole game in a single session, or you can play it in just 2 or 3 sessions. You're going to want to make some adjustments to the rules for the game to work as well as possible in that context. So if you have an opportunity to run a session 0, you can handle character creation and world building then, and not during your first session, which is what I've done for all of the games that I've run here, because as discussed, I find the session 0 eminently important, because the safety discussions in session 0 are so important and nuanced. They take a long time. So we've broken out some of this collaborative co-creation to take place asynchronously so that it is easier to balance with everybody's time. Whatever works for you and your table, I recommend leaning into that. That's a bit of what has worked for us, for me, so far. That having been said, your one-shot will then be able to dive into ignition right away. That's what it says here, and I think it's good advice. The only thing I will say is you might want to do a little bit of pre-launch, because it is still worth, if you have the time for it, spotlighting each character with an individual introduction, or maybe grouped introductions if people like that, so that they can say something about themselves, help establish the reality of their characters in play, not just out of play, and you can ramp up to the inciting incident that way. That having been said, I love starting in medias res in a lot of stories, including a lot of actual play stories and gameplay otherwise in the TTRPG world. So that is fully valid as well. If it's not possible for you to do any of the collaborative co-creation stuff before the session and you're playing a single session or even just 2 or 3 sessions, you're going to want to set up the group chat to brainstorm about club and town asynchronously if you can. And you're going to want to consider the following tips. Maybe have each player only ask one relationship question during character creation, make major decisions about the club and town in advance, but leave 1 or 2 details for the players to fill in at the table before play. The home base may or may not even really feature in the story. If it will, you're going to want to set it up in advance. If the need for it shows up organically during play and you haven't set up for it, you might want to pause to do that collectively. You're going to start the game with 2 or 3 experience boxes filled to allow an opportunity for sharing secrets and advancing. You don't want to start at 0. You're going to want to start with 2 or 3 marked. And then use the stages, right? Targets are going to help your players jump into the action quickly. If you're going to run a full campaign, so more than 3 sessions in the construct that we're discussing here, 4 or more sessions allow you more time to build your story, to delve into character relationships and develop an intriguing alien plot. You can start more slowly, you can focus on characters' ordinary lives while dropping hints of something strange, sinister happening. Or you can dive right into the action and give the conflict your full attention. These are all on the table as options. You might lean toward a Mystery of the Week style for your campaign, or a single intricate storyline where each session is like the chapter of a book. Whatever direction you choose, you can use the stages system to plan each individual session to keep your plot moving forward. And as I mentioned before, you may want to consider, if you're doing 5 sessions, what does it mean for your first session to be analogous to pre-launch, or maybe pre-launch and ignition? What does it mean for your second session to be analogous to first stage, your third, second stage, etc.? What does it mean for your finale to be analogous to the descent, right? These are not one-to-one comparisons again, but it is worth considering so that you are placing a macro structure of some sort on your campaign. Maybe you're going to play it open-ended. You fully just want to play to find out. That's also completely valid. And that's what I got for campaign and session prep from this. I can tell you I am prepping for, at the time of recording, my 3rd and 4th actual play game for Rocket Club, a multi-stage anthology, which is this cross-channel project that we're doing here at Streaming Rainbow, also in conjunction with Pocket Dragon Pub, Nerds with Dice, and Pantsless Tables, and Evil Hat, of course, supporting the whole thing. It has been really fascinating digging into the different structures with different table sizes, different durations of campaign. We go from a 1-shot to a 3-session game to a 4-session game to a 5-session game on these different tables. We go from having 3 players to having 4 players to having 5 players. We go from playing pre-recorded to playing live. And we go across a lot of subgenres. And it's all really well supported by the game. So I highly recommend you not limit yourself with regard to your expectations for what this game can do, and you fully embrace what you and your table are interested in making with these beautiful tools that M. Hubbard and Evil Hat have put together for us. If you want to get a copy of it yourself, go ahead and go to Evil Hat's website, look up Rocket Club, or you can just Google Evil Hat Rocket Club. There might be a link somewhere below as well. And you can get all this playtest material for free. You just got to let them know a little bit about what you think about it. I'd love for you to get in our Discord also. I'd love for you to like and subscribe, comment if you're really feeling like supporting us here. But definitely like the video if you liked it, right? And subscribe if you like our content and want to see more of it. We're pushing hard for 1,000 subscribers because it's going to make a big difference for what we can do as a channel practically on YouTube. We'd love for you to be a part of that. And it's really important to point out that we are a community first and foremost. So more than we want that, we want you to connect with us if you want to do that. We'd love for you to join our Discord, to talk to us about what we're making, to tell us what you'd like to see more of, what you'd like to see less of, what you are having questions about. If you want to know, why did we do this? Why did we do that? We thought about doing this. If you just want to hang out, if you want to play games with us, come on over. We'd love to have you. We'll talk soon. Have a good day.